Hey guys, Craig Setzer with you on a late season system we're watching here. And yes, I am a little bit rusty at this. We haven't done anything for almost a month now. But that being said, hurricane season's not over and we are watching something in the tropics. And as you probably just saw, if you like the videos, click the like button, subscribe, share with your friends, and get the notifications. Hopefully we won't have to do too many more of these, but I do like to post videos occasionally of what is going on outside of an active tropical system. But let's get right to it, because one thing I like to do is talk about where the threats are and where they aren't. And if you are not in a threat, you don't need to watch any more of the video beyond this point. That's fair enough. But for those in the Caribbean, I think this is a pretty good threat in terms of at least a tropical storm, possibly a hurricane in the Western Caribbean. So folks in Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, as well as coastal Honduras and Belize should keep a very close eye on this system, and we'll talk more about that in detail coming up. But for just about the rest of us, the areas that are in blue, there is no threat of a hurricane, which means no preparations are needed. I created this graphic because this is really where you have to start making preparations for the potential for a hurricane. It's not just gusty winds or heavy rain. It's where preparations might be required. And it's gone up from basically low now to moderate for Jamaica and the Caymans. It's moderate now for Honduras and Belize, but it's quite possible in the coming days it could go into the high category, meaning that preparations will be needed for Belize and Honduras by tomorrow. So certainly something we are watching there. Once again, everybody else looking pretty good here. Nothing going on, no other threats in the Eastern Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, Cuba, no threats, as well as up the East Coast. So let's get right to the new advisory that just is the first advisory coming in on potential tropical storm 15. The reason I say potential tropical storm is because the only reason they issue a potential tropical cyclone advisory is when they have to put up tropical storm or hurricane watches or warnings. So the expectation is that this is going to become a tropical storm to start, could then become a hurricane. But basically they need kind of the package, the instrument to carry the watches and warnings. And so they start these potential tropical storm advisories, and this is number 15 here. So let's go forward here. This is the first advisory, and winds are 40 miles an hour right now. Not quite a tropical storm or a tropical depression yet, right on the edge. I'll show you more of that in just a second. Here's the motion west-northwest at 10, and the pressure not that low. Now there's the forecast for the next couple of days here. There's the Monday afternoon time frame. You can see it right there. There's the Tuesday afternoon time frame. So the thinking would be that the closest approach to Jamaica is going to be during the day on Monday. That's when the weather will be at its gustiest. Squalls will continue to increase tonight and through the day tomorrow, and then decrease tomorrow night for Jamaica. And because it's still kind of a developing system here, it really doesn't have a trackable center yet. It could be that the center goes a little bit farther to the north and comes closer to Jamaica. This does not look like a hurricane threat for Jamaica. It is not organized enough right now to pose a hurricane threat to Jamaica, but certainly it does pose a tropical storm threat to Jamaica. Once again, the timing on that is Monday. Then after that, should it track a little bit farther to the north here on the right side of the track there, it could come closer to the Cayman Islands, so a tropical storm watch also in effect for the Cayman Islands, and that is for Tuesday. And then after that, the forecast is for it to become a hurricane category 1, and that is on the Wednesday, the Tuesday night to Wednesday time frame there, and that's as it is coming into the Gulf of Honduras there. If it's a little bit farther to the south, the worst of the weather would come closer to the Honduran coast, but if it goes kind of in the middle of the forecast track here, it would be more of a bigger impact for Belize, potentially parts of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico there, and it's moving inland then and weakening quickly into Guatemala. So certainly a late season threat here in the central and western Caribbean for a tropical storm or a hurricane, and something that we will be watching closely. And if that's all you need to know, then that's great. If you want to know more, stick around and we will do a deeper dive. All right, so here's what's been going on during the day today, and we're kind of zoomed out here, and you can kind of make out the overall circulation of our disturbance there. It's been kind of elongated, running basically north, east to southwest there. But you can make out some overall turning motion here. There are also some smaller little centers of rotation, one up there, kind of one in the middle there. And basically this whole big feature here that's, once again, is kind of oblong shaped like that, is moving basically to the west or west-northwest. And you can see there's some pretty good weather, bad weather here up on the northern part of it, impacting parts of the Dominican Republic as well as Haiti. That's also going to increase as we go through time here, and also as we go through time here reach Jamaica as well. So certainly things to watch there. So the water vapor loop, kind of interesting here because it shows that there's a lot of dry air outside of the system envelope. There's our feature right there, and the atmosphere is gradually moistening up as it goes to the west there. So certainly marginal, if not at least enough moisture to support slow development and strengthening through time. This dry air up here is gradually retreating. This dry air down here is not going anywhere. So there's almost this little channel here to go to the west-northwest and slowly strengthen. Also, there's not a lot of shear. There has been some shear. You can see those high clouds blowing off to the east over there. That's where the shear has been. There's a little bit of northeasterly shear, but it's not terribly strong. So we would call this kind of a marginal environment for slow strengthening, slow organization as we go forward into time. Here's the close-up visible loop, and you can see it's really hard to find like one area of focus. There's a little swirl that's spun off there. There have been some swirls down here. There's kind of a general swirl there closer to the thunderstorms, and that also shows up in where the hurricane hunters were this morning into early afternoon. They found what could almost be defined as a depression center located there, and the pressure around 1,008 to 1,010 millibars. That's fairly typical for a weak tropical storm, possibly even a moderate tropical storm, but as long as we're in this above 1,000 millibar range here, we're not getting close to those hurricane values that we typically think of for a tropical system. So here's the models, and we'll just kind of jump right into it here. This is the European model, and you can see most of the ensembles here are basically west-northwest, and then kind of a turn there towards the end of the southwest. Some of the members extend as far north, a little bit closer to Jamaica, and up into close to the southern part of the Yucatan Peninsula there on the Caribbean. A few of the model members are also a little bit farther to the south here, reaching the coast along Honduras there. But most of the models in that black line there is the mean, and that kind of goes right into Belize there. And then also here's the GFS ensemble. Now the GFS has a few stronger members there. Those are some of those oranges and yellows showing up in there. And in fact, what we call the operational run of the GFS, which this year is a little different from the model run that this is right here. In other words, it's using some different model physics, and it looks a little bit stronger. In fact, it's probably one of the strongest members of all of them here. So this is the one model here. This is the GFS, and it's got the moisture, and you can see how the system kind of breaks away with the moisture there, moves to the west. And look at the numbers here as it goes forward: 1,002, 999, 986, 977. So this model here, this GFS model, is really calling for quite a bit of strengthening, especially after tomorrow into a hurricane as it approaches the northern Honduran coast there, as well as Belize there. So certainly kind of on the upper end of the models here, but not out of the realm of possibility having a hurricane there. And in fact, that's what's considered also by the National Hurricane Center in their forecast. Look at what's going on across Cuba, all of the Gulf of Mexico, up into Florida, a lot of dry air in place. Also, these arrows here, they're blowing southwesterly, so that is wind shear. So the area basically north of our system here, this is unfavorable. So we're not worried about it coming up here. In fact, that shows up also in the European model. And later in the period here, you can even see there's this big kind of crush of dry air that comes racing down here, right there towards the end. And you can see that pretty much eventually sweeps on into the Caribbean and probably shuts down the Caribbean for any more development in the Northwest Caribbean. The European model here, not as strong. You can see the values there between 1,005 and about 1,010. So more likely, at least in this model run, calling for a tropical storm there. The worst of the weather kind of going through Haiti there and the Dominican Republic, and then on Monday into Tuesday over Jamaica, and then Tuesday into Wednesday over the Caymans, and then finally by the Wednesday, Thursday time frame, that's the end of Friday, that's when the weather goes downhill as we get into Gulf of Honduras is there, as well as Belize and the Honduran coast there. Let's look quickly at the steering charts and just kind of give you an idea why we're not worried about it up here in Florida. Right there at the beginning, there's this high pressure area. It's a block. It's going to keep our system that we're tracking from going to the north. There's the system going to the west. And this block actually kind of moves west with it in tandem with the system ending up in the Gulf of Mexico. So that's going to continue to kind of force like a little bit of a northeast pressure on it, basically keeping it from moving to the northwest like that. That's not going to happen. And also it probably kind of gives it that little bit of that southwest nudge there towards the end. How this all shakes out in detail, probably a little bit up for question right now, but certainly something that we will be watching as we go forward here. So once again, no threat to the Gulf of Mexico, no threat as well to Florida with this system. There is that threat for the Caribbean, the Western Caribbean there, as well as Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and folks in Belize, as well as the Honduran coast, even the northern Nicaraguan coast and parts of the Yucatan Peninsula. I would be thinking about hurricane preps. What am I going to be doing here, at least if not tomorrow, by Wednesday, for the possibility of a hurricane, middle and latter parts of the week there along the Central American coast. If you like the video, once again, please be sure to click the like and subscribe and notify button, and please be sure to share it with those that you care about as well, and those who may be watching from the Caribbean. Of course, we always appreciate you tuning in, and I'll have another update tomorrow, probably around 4:30, 4:40 to keep track on our latest potential tropical storm in the Caribbean.